Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Monica. I am a tarot reader and astrologer based in Australia, and today, as you can tell from the title of this video, I'm going to have a conversation about my most expensive tarot deck that I have bought. And to put this in a little bit of context, I started reading tarot around 2008, I believe it was, and I believe I acquired my first deck around 2007, so quite a long time ago. And in that period I have purchased many tarot decks, although I don't have as vast a collection as, say, some of the other readers and collectors out there. I think I have just over 100 tarot decks, although it could be that if I ever start counting them I might be shocked to actually discover the real number. But anyway, I wanted to have a leisurely chat about this tarot deck, and it's later in the evening here when I'm recording this, and the kids have gone to sleep, so I don't have green tea. Instead I've poured myself a nice gin and tonic. I felt like a bit of a relaxed ambience as I talk about what has been a bit of a controversial topic here in the YouTube tarot world, with regards to indie decks and how much they cost, and how expensive they are, and I guess the unfairness regarding their costs. And it's a really difficult conversation to have. It is not black and white. There are many facets to it. But anyway, I'll get on to that. I'm going to try and not ramble on too much in this video, but if I do, we'll blame it on the gin and tonic, okay? I don't have a set measurement. I just sort of eyeball how much gin I put in. So, if my speech becomes slurry as this video goes on, then, it's been a bit too much. So, anyway, let's get to the point. So this is the bag that this tarot deck came in, and for those who were fortunate or lucky enough to obtain it, you'll know straight away what bag this is. It is the indie edition of the Gaian Tarot. So let's pull this little treasure out, and I'm going to showcase it. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give it a light shuffle first, and then go through some of the cards. Like, I'm just going to randomly pull them out one by one as I decide to talk about it, so you can enjoy a visual feast. So I bought this deck. It was, I remember, when I moved to Australia, like soon after. So, sorry, when I moved to the Whitsundays, which is where the name for my channel comes from, Whitsunday Oracle. So I'm going to give a little bit of a background to that, actually. So now we're going on a bit of a tangent, but that's okay, because I do feel like it's relevant. Okay, so my background that's relevant to this tarot deck is that up until that time I had been living in New Zealand, and I had a bit of a premature midlife crisis, shall we say, between the ages of 26 and pretty much almost 30. Yeah, I'm not going to go into details there, but I changed careers, and when I decided to do an environmental degree, first of all, I did that because I wanted to do something that aligned with who I was at the core and how I felt about our earth. But the move to Australia was facilitated by the fact that in New Zealand at the time there were not many job opportunities available. I love it. We start off with the ace of earth at the beginning. There weren't many job opportunities available, and I looked online through Seek, which is a job search engine for New Zealand and Australia, maybe overseas even, I don't know. And I realized that actually in Australia there were quite a few environmental jobs, and they were fairly well paid. Not only that, but they had a lot of benefits. For example, like a really big one was a 9-day fortnight, which means that in a 2-week period you only work 9 days, so every second weekend is a 3-day weekend. And this is for professional work, generally speaking. So with that in mind, as much as I love New Zealand, and it is still very dear to my heart, I decided to move to Australia, and eventually I got a very good professional job in the Whitsundays that had a good salary and all the perks that comes with a professional job in Australia. I think my American viewers would be shocked if they knew how much professional work is paid here, even at the officer level, and the other benefits that you have, like the 9-day work fortnight, the superannuation scheme, the Medicare is free here. Gosh, I could go on, and I'm not gloating, I'm not doing this to make other people feel bad, but the point is that I guess my move to Australia in a sense was a calculated move, because I knew that if I would have stayed in New Zealand, gosh, I mean, things were dire back then, and I think now they're just atrocious in terms of cost of living, in terms of affordable housing, and if you don't have a connected family network, yeah, it's rough. It is very rough. So anyway, and I mean, it's rough everywhere in the world right now. I'm not let's just be honest about it. But anyway, so there I was in the Whitsundays, single and earning a decent wage for the first time in years, like years and years. And hang on. I was quite heavily into tarot. In fact, when I moved to Australia, I bought over 2 suitcases and 5 boxes of books and decks. Because priorities, right? And so being in a position where I could afford nicer tarot decks, when this one came along, I decided to buy it, even though the cost was so high. I don't have many very expensive tarot decks, and actually since then, even though I have acquired quite a few indie decks, none have come in price as close to what I paid for this tarot deck, and I am completely fine with that. Because to me, when I saw the images online for this tarot deck, I was like, I still get goosebumps talking about it. It was the first deck that really touched something inside of me. Touched like that, or perhaps it mirrored the inner flame of how I feel about our earth, our one and only earth, and the magic that is infused in this earth, in its sunsets, in its trees, in its stones, in its waves, in everything, right? So it wasn't just that, to be honest, it was more. It was the ethos with which this deck was made as well. The cardstock, right, it's not plastic. From memory, the inks or the dyes that it is made with are natural, non-toxic. Even that lovely bag that you saw at the beginning, this bag here, this is someone's work with their own hands to dye this naturally, okay, and to make this, and you can see inside, it's absolutely gorgeous. So I bought this deck first and foremost because it aligned with me and my energy completely, profoundly, deeply, and beautifully. I understood the message that Joanna Powell Colbert was trying to convey in these images, and in the people, and the way that they deliberately, consciously chosen to live their lives, and what they appreciate about our world. If you're wondering how much I paid for this, from memory, I don't have the record anymore, but from memory, I think at the time it was around 250 Australian dollars, which was a lot of money even to me, as someone with, you know, income, professional income, and no responsibilities. I mean, I had a lot of debt, which I did pay off within the first 2 to 3 years, I think, of being in Australia. Like a lot of debt. Like I pretty much arrived in this country, like I said, with 2 suitcases and 5 boxes of books and a pile of debt. And that was a lesson that I needed to learn. I can't say I'm a master of money management. I mean, but I did do lots of other things that enabled me to do things like purchase decks like these. Because as anyone who's tried to set a budget or work within the limits of a budget knows, earning a decent income is only half the equation. The other half are your expenses. And I've seen people earn as much as me or even more than me and still be in debt a decade later because of how they've chosen to spend that. So I spend on tarot decks, and they're pretty much my only extravagance, if you like. I mean, I also spend on, say, gardening. I like buying nice heirloom seeds, for example, and things like that. But I don't see that as an extravagance. I see growing my own food when I can as an imperative, but that's a different tangent. So yeah, tarot for me is a bit of a luxury. I mean, it is a luxury. It's not a bit of a luxury. It is a luxury. Absolutely. But there are many other things that I did at the time that other people laughed at, like drive a shitty car that I paid $600 for and it lasted me 6 years. I never once dreamt about getting a brand new car, which many of my co-workers and even friends did, even though they can't afford getting a new car. I mean, they get these exorbitant loans and they're still paying off the bloody thing 5 years down the line. I largely shopped at op shops and secondhand stores for my clothes. That's changed a bit in the last couple of years, but geez, when I first arrived in Australia, I mean, they've got some great op shops and secondhand shops, so you know, that wasn't a problem. I basically minimized my expenses to get out of debt. Anyway, that's a bit of a I guess it's a different topic, but I still feel like it's relevant to this conversation about, you know, spending $250 on an indie deck. But the first imperative for me was that what I feel about this deck, I can't even put into words, you know. I feel like this deck describes, if not my life, then certainly my vision. It's something that I aspire to. It's something that when I pull this deck out, it soothes me mentally. Like I feel mentally and emotionally soothed and calmed by this tarot deck. And to be honest, since I bought it, in the over 10 years since I bought this tarot deck, I feel like that calling has gone even stronger, and the crazy world that we now find ourselves in calls for this even more. What else did I want to talk about? I'm just going to flick through some of these and have a look at it and have more of my drink. So actually the other thing that I wanted to talk about was the justification for the artist charging what she charged. And if my memory serves me right, which is a valid point of debate these days, but I do have a recollection of Joanna getting a bit of criticism at the time for the cost of this tarot deck. The fact that, you know, it's almost like she had the audacity to value her work as an artist. You know, to value the time that she put into creating this deck, which for her was 9 years from memory, I think I read. You know, it was a truly epic gestational period. And of course, I don't think that she worked on it 40 hours a week, 52 weeks of the year. But to create something like this still takes a considerable amount of work and patience and endurance. You've got to, you know, go the way, last the distance. And I've never, not once, felt like I could ever judge or criticize an artist for how much, for the price they put on their artwork. Because either they're a pretentious twat and their artwork is shit and it will still sell for $1 million, and who cares in that case, right? None of my business. Or I personally consider the artwork of value. I consider the way they live their life and the message they convey through their artwork of value. And if I can afford it, I'll buy it. And if I can't afford it, then I won't buy it. It's really that simple. To be honest, if this tarot deck would have cost, if she would have said this deck is $300, I still would have bought it. $500, probably, yeah. You know, I think, you know, if it was something ridiculous like $1,000, then I probably might have said no. But I'm not a rational person when it comes to tarot. So I can't, you know, I mean, who knows where you draw the line? Everyone draws that line differently. But I'd never go and request someone or judge them publicly for charging whatever it is they want to charge. I mean, it's either ridiculous, but in that case, you just ignore it. Like, you don't have to buy it, right? And this is the other thing I wanted to actually mention, is that to me, tarot is, I don't want to say it's optional, because to me it's not optional. It's like the air I breathe. But let's face it, it's not like food. I mean, if you want to talk about injustice and the atrocious neoliberal policies that have gotten us to this mess that we're in now, you know, look at that. Look at our food system. Be outraged about that. Look at, there's so many other things that I consider necessary and vital for a cohesive society. Healthcare, good food, looking after our elderly, education. Yeah, those things I will have a voice about and make that heard. If something really, you know, if I feel like I need to say something about those topics, absolutely, because to me they're not optional. But tarot for me doesn't come at the same level as all those other societal structures. Even though, again, for me tarot is a vital part of who I am and always will be thus. So anyway, I think, I guess what I'm saying is I have no regrets about buying this deck. I would do it again in a heartbeat. It is my most treasured deck, one of my most treasured decks in my collection. In no way would I ever tell an artist or deck producer, a painter, a sculptor, anyone, what price I think they should put on their creation. That's entirely up to them, and then you either choose to buy it or you don't. So yeah, I don't know. I hope I've expressed my points of view clearly. It's not, like I said, it's not an easy topic to really talk about, because there's so many other branches or ramifications regarding, you know, the ability to afford a tarot deck like this. And that's why I wanted to give that background as to where I was before coming to being in a position to actually buy a tarot deck like this. So I'm going to wrap it up now and finish my gin and tonic and ponder whether I will upload this video or not. But as always, I thank you all for watching. I thank you for supporting my channel, and until my next video, take care.